The Montana sky stretched endless above Jake Mercer's beat-up Ford as he pulled onto the gravel drive for the first time. I am 32 years old, a rodeo cowboy with too many scars and not enough savings. This abandoned farmhouse, crumbling, forgotten, half swallowed by weeds, was his last shot at something resembling a home. He cut the engine. Silence swallowed him whole. The house sagged against itself, paint peeling like old skin, windows dark and vacant. The barn listed to one side, weathered wood silver with age. Wildflowers rioted through the fields, gold and purple against the green dot, beautiful, broken. Just like him, Jake grabbed his duffel and stepped out into the summer heat. That's when he heard it. A sound, faint, coming. From inside, his hand went to his belt. Old instincts. He climbed the rotting porch steps slowly, boots creaking against the wood. The front door hung half open, rusted hinges groaning as he pushed through. Dust motes swirled in the golden afternoon light. Nothing. Then movement. Fast. A shadow darting across the back hallway. Jake's pulse kicked up. I'm not here to hurt you. This is my property now. Bought it fair and square. A long pause, then a voice. Young, scared, defiant. You can't make me leave. The boy stepped into the light slowly. Shoulders squared despite the fear flickering in his eyes. 18, maybe 19. Thin, but not starving. Dark hair falling into hazel eyes that burned with something fierce and guarded. His clothes were worn but clean jeans, a faded band t-shirt. Boots held together with duct tape. He held a rusted crowbar like a weapon. Jake raised both hands. Easy. I'm Jake. I just bought this place. Didn't know anyone was here. Well, I am. The kid's jaw clenched, and I've got nowhere else to go. Something in those words hit Jake square in the chest. He'd been that kid once. 17 and desperate, sleeping in his truck outside rodeo towns. Running from a father who couldn't accept what he was, he lowered his hands slowly. What's your name? The boy hesitated. Eli. Eli. Jake nodded. How long have you been here? 3 months. Eli's grip on the crowbar loosened slightly. Nobody comes out here. House has been empty for years. I've been. Keeping it up? Sort of. Jake glanced around. The place was a disaster, but he could see signs of habitation. A sleeping bag in the corner. Canned food stacked neatly against the wall. A battery-powered lantern. The kid had been surviving. You running from something? Jake asked softly. Eli's expression shuddered. Aren't we all? Fair enough. Jake set down his duffel. Look, I'm not going to throw you out. Not tonight, anyway. It's getting dark. We can figure this out in the morning. Eli stared at him, suspicion warring with relief in his eyes. Why would you do that? Because I've been where you are. Jake met his gaze steadily. And nobody helped me. So maybe I can help you. Something shifted in the space between them. Fragile, tentative, trust. Beginning to bloom, they sat on the porch as the sun set. Painting the Montana sky in shades of amber and rose, Jake had pulled 2 beers from his cooler. Then remembered how young Eli looked and offered him a soda instead. The kid had taken it without comment, popping the tab and drinking in silence. The evening air smelled like hay and wildflowers. So, Jake said finally, you gonna tell me what you're running from? Eli was quiet for a long moment. Then my parents. Foster system before that. Church group home before that. His voice went flat. Turns out being gay in rural Wyoming doesn't win you many friends. Jake's chest tightened. They kick you out? Foster dad did. Said he couldn't have my lifestyle corrupting the other kids. Eli's laugh was bitter. I was 18 by then, so legally he could. Gave me 3 days to pack. Jesus. Yeah. Eli stared out at the fields. Hitchhiked here. Saw the for sale sign, saw nobody around. Figured I could lay low until I figured out my next move. Jake took a long pull from his beer. What is your next move? Don't know yet. Eli glanced at him sideways. Guess it depends on whether you're really letting me stay or just being nice until morning. I'm not throwing you out, Jake said firmly. But we need to establish some things. This house is a project. Needs a ton of work. If you stay, you help. Deal. Eli blinked. You're serious. Dead serious. Jake extended his hand. I need help fixing this place up. You need somewhere safe to figure out your life. Seems like a fair trade. Eli stared at Jake's outstretched hand like it might disappear if he reached for it. Then slowly, carefully, he shook it. His hand was warm, calloused, strong despite his slight frame. Jake felt something spark between their palms, something he absolutely could not afford to feel. He pulled back quickly. Tomorrow we start working, he said gruffly. Get some sleep, kid, Eli nodded, standing. He paused at the door. Thank you, he said quietly. For not. For being decent? Jake's throat tightened. Don't mention it. Eli disappeared inside. Jake sat alone on the porch, watching the stars emerge one by one, and wondered what the hell he'd just gotten himself into. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of manual labor and careful distance. They worked side by side from dawn until dusk, rebuilding the farmhouse, one board at a time. Jake taught Eli how to properly swing a hammer, how to measure twice and cut once, how to replace rotted floorboards without destroying the structure underneath. Eli learned fast. He was smart, resourceful, unafraid of hard work. They developed a rhythm. Jake would work shirtless in the heat, sweat gleaming on his broad shoulders, muscles moving under tan skin. Eli would try very hard not to stare. Sometimes he failed. Sometimes Jake noticed. Neither of them said anything. The farmhouse slowly transformed. They patched the roof, replaced broken windows, cleared out years of accumulated debris. The barn became Jake's workshop. The loft converted into a makeshift bedroom for Eli. They ate dinner together on the porch, most nights simple meals. Canned beans and grilled meat, fresh vegetables from the overgrown garden they'd started resurrecting. They talked. Carefully at first, then more openly, Jake told Eli about his rodeo days, the circuit life, the injuries that had finally forced him to quit. About saving every penny to buy this place, dreaming of building something permanent. He didn't mention the loneliness, the string of failed relationships, the way he'd given up on finding someone who could accept all of him, the violence of his work, the scars on his body and soul, the quiet truth of who he loved. Eli told Jake about growing up in foster care, about the handful of good homes and the many bad ones, about realizing he was gay at 14 and learning to hide it, to protect himself, to survive. He didn't mention the nights he'd cried himself to sleep in this abandoned house, the terror of being alone, the desperate hope that someday someone might see him as more than a burden. They orbited each other like binary stars drawn together by gravity, held apart by fear. 3 weeks in, the well pump broke. Jake swore colorfully, staring at the ancient mechanism like it had personally betrayed him. How much to fix it? Eli asked, wiping grease from his hands. Too much. Jake's jaw tightened. We'll have to haul water from town until I can afford a new pump. Or ... Eli hesitated. I could try to fix it. Jake raised an eyebrow. You know how to fix a well pump? No, but there's a library in town. They have internet. I can research it. Eli's eyes lit up with that fierce determination Jake was starting to recognize. Save us money. I want to contribute. Really contribute. Something warm unfurled in Jake's chest. All right, he said. Give it a shot. I'll drive you to town tomorrow, the drive to Harmony. Montana took 40 minutes on winding country roads. Jake's truck rumbled along. Windows down, warm summer wind whipping through the cab. Classic country played low on the radio. Eli sat in the passenger seat. One arm braced against the open window, watching the landscape blur past. He looked younger in the morning light, more vulnerable. Jake found himself wanting to protect that vulnerability, to shelter it from the world's cruelty. Dangerous thoughts. You ever been to Harmony before? Jake asked, breaking the silence. No, avoided towns mostly. Easier to stay invisible. Jake frowned. You don't have to be invisible anymore. You're working with me now. Legitimate. Anyone asks? You're my hired hand. Alay glanced at him. Is that what I am? Their eyes met. The air between them shifted. Charged, Jake looked back at the road quickly. Yeah, that's what you are, right? Eli's voice was carefully neutral. Hired hand. He didn't speak again until they reached town. Harmony was small one Main Street. A handful of shops, a diner that looked frozen in 1985. The library occupied a converted church building. Stained glass windows casting colored light across rows of books. Jake waited in the truck while Eli went inside. He tried not to think about the way Eli's face had looked in the morning sun. Tried not to remember the electric touch of their handshake weeks ago. Tried not to imagine what it might feel like to run his fingers through that dark hair, to pull that lean body close, to kiss those full lips until they both forgot their names. He failed spectacularly. 45 minutes later, Eli emerged with a stack of photocopied diagrams and a triumphant grin. Got it, he announced, climbing into the truck. I can fix the pump. Just need a few parts from the hardware store? Jake couldn't help smiling back. Let's go shopping then. Covered in grease and sweat, they got the well pump working again. Water gushed from the tap in the kitchen clear. Cold, perfect. Eli whooped with joy. Throwing his arms up in victory, Jake laughed. A real laugh, deep and genuine. Without thinking, he grabbed Eli and pulled him into a hug. The moment their bodies connected, everything stopped. Eli was solid against him, warm and real and right there. His heart hammered against Jake's chest. His breath caught audibly. Jake froze. He should pull away. Should put distance between them. Should remember that Eli was young and vulnerable and dependent on him for shelter. But Eli's arms came up slowly, hesitantly wrapping around Jake's waist. And God help him. Jake couldn't let go. They stood there in the kitchen, holding each other under the single bare bulb, water running in the sink, the farmhouse quiet around them. Gah, Jake, Eli whispered. Jake's chest ached. Yeah, Eli pulled back just enough to look up at him. Those hazel eyes were enormous, vulnerable, full of something that looked dangerously like hope. I think Jake's phone rang. The spell shattered. Jake stepped back quickly, pulling out his phone. Unknown number, he answered, mostly to escape the intensity of the moment. Yeah. Is this Jake Mercer? A woman's voice, official sounding, speaking. This is Margaret Chen from Child Protective Services in Wyoming. I'm trying to locate Eli Thompson. We have reason to believe he may be in your area. Jake's blood went cold. He looked at Eli, who had gone pale, eyes wide with panic. I'm sorry, Jake said carefully. I don't know anyone by that name. Mr. Mercer, if you're harboring a runaway minor, he's 18, Jake interrupted. You said so yourself. He's not a minor. He's an adult who has every right to go wherever he wants. A pause. We're still obligated to perform a wellness check. May I have your address? Jake's jaw clenched. No, you may not. Have a good evening. He hung up. Eli stared at him, breathing hard. They found me. They're not taking you. Jake's voice was steel. You're an adult. They have no legal authority over you. They'll try anyway. They always do. Eli's hands shook. The church group that funded my foster placement, they don't give up. They'll say I'm mentally unfit, that I need treatment for my sexuality, that hey. Look at me. Eli met his eyes, terrified. I won't let them take you, Jake said firmly. You're safe here, I promise. Eli's expression crumpled. Why are you doing this? You don't even know me. I know enough. Jake's thumb brushed across Eli's shoulder without thinking. I know you're good and brave, and you deserve better than what they gave you. And I know he stopped himself. I know I'm falling for you. He couldn't say it. Shouldn't say it. But the words hung between them anyway. It's unspoken and undeniable. They spent that night planning. If CPS came looking, they needed a story. Eli was Jake's employee hired legitimately to help restore the farmhouse. Jake had documentation of the property purchase, could show records of improvement work, could demonstrate that if Eli was living independently as a legal adult, it would hold up probably, but the fear lingered around midnight. Jake found Eli sitting on the porch, staring out at the dark fields. He sat down beside him. "Can't sleep?" Jake asked. "Keep thinking they'll show up in the middle of the night." Eli's voice was small. "That I'll wake up and be back in that place." "That's not going to happen. You can't know that." "Yes, I can." Jake turned to face him. "Because I'll fight them. Every step of the way. With lawyers if I have to. They won't take you." Eli looked at him, eyes glistening. "Why do you care so much?" "Because you make me feel alive again. Because your smile lights up my whole world. Because I'm terrified of how much I want you. Because it's the right thing to do," Jake said instead. Eli's laugh was shaky. "Bullshit." "Excuse me?" "That's not the only reason." Eli's voice dropped to barely a whisper. "Is it?" Jake's heart hammered. "Eli, because I need to know." Eli's hand found Jake's in the darkness, fingers intertwining. "I need to know if I'm imagining this. If I'm crazy for feeling ... for wanting." His voice broke. Jake closed his eyes. "You're not crazy. Then tell me I'm not alone in this." Silence stretched between them, vast and terrifying. Then Jake opened his eyes and looked at Eli. Really looked at him. At the hope and fear and desperate longing written across his face. "You're not alone," Jake said quietly. Eli's breath hitched. "I feel it too," Jake continued, the words dragging themselves out against his better judgment. "Have for weeks now. But Eli, you need to understand I'm 32. You're 18. You've been through trauma. You're dependent on me for housing. This is complicated. I don't care." Eli's grip on his hand tightened. "I'm not some kid who doesn't know his own mind. I've survived things that would break most people. I know what I want." "What do you want?" Eli moved closer until Jake could feel his warmth, smell the faint scent of his shampoo. "You," Eli whispered. "I want you." Jake's control cracked. He cupped Eli's face in his rough hands, thumb tracing the line of his jaw. "If we do this," Jake said hoarsely, "we do it right. Slow. Careful. You tell me if anything feels wrong. If you need space. If you change your mind. Understood?" "Understood." Eli leaned into his touch, like a man finding water in the desert. "And we protect you first," Jake continued. "Always. Your safety, your future, that comes before anything between us. Even if it means stepping back. Even if it hurts. Jake, promise me." Eli searched his eyes, then nodded slowly. "I promise." "Okay." Jake took a shaky breath. "Okay." They sat there in the darkness, hands clasped, the Montana night vast and full of stars above them, and something new bloomed between them, fragile as spring flowers, strong as prairie grass, burning like wildfire across the summer fields. The next few weeks transformed them both. They worked during the day rebuilding the farmhouse, mending fences, clearing overgrown paths, but now there was awareness in every interaction. Every accidental touch, every shared smile. Jake taught Eli to ride the old mare he'd bought from a neighbor. Eli proved a natural horseman, fearless and gentle with the animal. They rode together through the golden fields at sunset, side by side, not touching but together in ways that mattered more. One evening, Jake taught Eli how to dance old country two-step, bodies swaying to music from the truck radio. Eli laughed as he stumbled, then found the rhythm. Jake's hand warm and steady at the small of his back. Their faces were inches apart. Jake could feel Eli's breath on his lips. "You're a quick learner," Jake murmured. "I'm motivated."
Yes.
Eli's eyes were dark with want. Jake's hand tightened on his waist. "Eli, ... I know. Slow. Careful. I'm trying." Eli's voice dropped. "But you make it really hard." Jake groaned softly. "You're killing me, kid. I'm not a kid." Eli rose on his toes, bringing their mouths impossibly close. "I'm a man who knows what he wants." "And what do you want?" Jake's voice was barely audible. Everything. Eli's lips brushed against his featherlight. I want everything with you. Jake's control finally. Completely shattered, he closed the distance between them and kissed Eli. Like a drowning man finding air, soft at first, testing, making sure this was really happening. Really okay? Eli made a sound low in his throat and kissed him back fiercely, hands fisting in Jake's shirt. Pulling him closer, Jake's world narrowed to this. The taste of Eli's mouth, the solid warmth of his body, the way he fit perfectly against Jake's chest like he'd been made to be there when they finally broke apart. Both breathing hard, Eli's eyes were blazing. Wow, he whispered. Jake laughed shakily. Yeah, wow. They stood there swaying gently to the music, foreheads pressed together, hearts racing in tandem. This changes things, Jake said quietly. Good Eli smiled. I want things to change. Me too. Jake pressed a kiss to his forehead. Me too. But change brought complications. 2 days later, a car pulled up the gravel drive. Jake was in the barn when he heard it. His stomach dropped. He came out to find a woman in a pantsuit standing on the porch. Talking to Eli, the kid's body language was defensive, closed off. Just here to make sure you're safe, the woman was saying. Mr. Thompson, your previous guardians are concerned I'm fine, Eli interrupted, voice tight. I'm 18. I'm employed. I'm living independently. You have no jurisdiction here. The woman's smile was professionally sympathetic and utterly fake. We have a responsibility to ensure. Is there a problem? Jake asked, climbing the porch steps. The woman turned. Are you Jake Mercer? I am. Margaret Chen, CPS. She didn't offer her hand. I'm here regarding Eli Thompson's living situation. His living situation is fine. He works for me. Restoring this property. Jake crossed his arms. As he said, he's an adult. You have no legal authority over him. We're concerned about potential exploitation. Jake's temper flared. I gave this kid a job and a place to stay when he had nothing. I've been nothing but respectful and appropriate. You want to talk about exploitation? Talk to the people who threw him out for being gay. Margaret's expression tightened. Mr. Mercer, I understand you may feel defensive. I feel like you're harassing a legal adult who doesn't want your services. I'd like to speak with Eli alone, please. No, Eli said firmly. Whatever you need to say, you can say in front of Jake. Margaret looked between them, suspicion clear in her eyes. I see. The silence stretched, uncomfortable. Finally, she sighed. Mr. Thompson, I need to confirm a few things. Are you here of your own free will? Yes. Is anyone forcing you to stay? Threatening you? No. Are you being provided adequate food, shelter, and medical care? Yes. Better than I ever got in foster care. Eli's voice was hard. Margaret pulled out a form. I'll need to document that. May I see your living quarters? Jake and Eli exchanged glances. Fine, Eli said. Follow me. He led her to the barn loft, the space they'd converted into his room. It was simple, but comfortable. Clean bed, small dresser, battery lantern, stack of library books. Margaret took photos, made notes. And you're being paid for your work? She asked. Room and board, Eli said. Plus a percentage when we sell the property once it's restored. It was the first Jake had heard of this arrangement, but he didn't contradict it. Margaret pursed her lips. I see. And your relationship with Mr. Mercer is strictly professional? The question hung in the air like a blade. Eli met her eyes steadily. Yes, the lie burned between them. Margaret clearly didn't believe it, but she had no proof otherwise. After another 20 minutes of questions and documentation, she left with a warning that she'd be following up, the moment her car disappeared down the drive. Eli turned to Jake, shaking. She knows, he said. She suspects. She has no proof. Jake pulled him close. And even if she did, you're an adult. There's nothing illegal here, but they'll make it sound wrong. Like you're taking advantage of me. Like I'm some victim who doesn't know his own mind. Eli's voice cracked. They'll ruin this. Ruin us. Jake cupped his face gently. Hey, look at me. Eli met his eyes, terrified. Nobody ruins us, Jake said fiercely. We're careful. We're smart. And we're together. That's what matters. Is it enough? Eli whispered. Jake kissed him softly. It has to be. We're deepened into August. They were more careful now. No public displays. Separate sleeping arrangements that Margaret Chen could verify if she returned. But at night. After the sun set and the world grew quiet, Eli would slip into Jake's room. They'd lie together in the darkness, talking in whispers. Sharing stories and dreams and soft kisses, Jake learned the geography of Eli's body, the scar on his shoulder from a foster brother's violence, the birthmark on his hip, the way he shivered when Jake ran fingers through his hair. Eli learned Jake's stories, the father who'd disowned him, the years of loneliness, the rodeo injury that still ached on cold mornings. They learned each other slowly, carefully, building something real and solid from the ruins they'd both escaped. One night, lying tangled together under thin sheets, Eli said, "Tell me about your dreams, your real dreams." Jake was quiet for a moment. "I want to finish this place. Make it beautiful. Run it as a working ranchage mall scale, sustainable. Maybe take in horses that need rehabilitation." "That's a good dream. What about you?" Jake traced patterns on Eli's bare shoulder. "What do you want?" "I want to go to college. Study veterinary medicine." Eli's voice was soft with hope. "Help animals? Have a career. A life." He paused. "I want this. With you?" Jake's chest tightened. "Eli, I know it's fast. I know it's complicated. But I've never felt like this about anyone." Eli propped himself up on one elbow, looking down at Jake in the moonlight filtering through the window. "You saved my life. And I'm not just talking about giving me shelter. You made me believe I could have a future. That I wasn't broken. That I deserved to be loved." "You do deserve to be loved," Jake said hoarsely. "So much, do you?" Eli's eyes searched his face. "Love me." The question hung between them, terrifying and inevitable. Jake had been fighting it for weeks, telling himself it was too soon, too complicated, too dangerous. But lying there with Eli's warmth pressed against him, those hazel eyes full of hope and vulnerability, he couldn't lie anymore. "Yeah," Jake whispered. "I do. I love you." Eli's smile was radiant. "I love you too." They kissed, slow and deep, the words transforming between them into something sacred. This was no longer just attraction or comfort. This was real. This was everything. In September, the farmhouse was nearly complete. New roof, new windows, fresh paint. The porch no longer sagged. The floors were solid. The garden flourished with late-season vegetables. Jake stood in the kitchen, looking at what they'd built together, and felt something unfamiliar bloom in his chest. Pride, home, belonging. Eli came up behind him, wrapping arms around his waist, chin resting on his shoulder. "It looks good," Eli murmured. Yeah. Jake covered Eli's hands with his own. "We did this. We make a good team. We do." They stood there in comfortable silence, watching golden afternoon light stream through the windows they'd installed together. "I've been thinking," Eli said carefully, "about the future." Jake tensed slightly. "Yeah. There's a community college about an hour from here. They have a pre-vet program. I could take classes, work here on weekends, and breaks. It would take longer, but you'd stay?" Jake turned to face him. Eli met his eyes steadily. "If you want me to." "If I want..." Jake laughed, a sound half disbelief, half joy. "Eli, I want nothing more than for you to stay. Build a life here. With me. Really? Really." Jake pulled him close. "I love you. I want the soul of it. You going to school? Us building this ranch together? Making something real and permanent? If you want that, I do." Eli's smile was brilliant. "I want all of it." They kissed, long and tender, sealing the promise between them. But the universe had other plans. A week later, Jake came back from town to find Eli's foster father's truck parked in front of the house. His blood went cold. He parked and got out slowly, adrenaline surging inside. He found Eli backed against the kitchen counter, face pale, while a large man in his 50s loomed over him. "Coming back with me," the man was saying. "This is ridiculous, Eli. You need proper guidance. Proper treatment for your condition. Get the hell away from him," Jake said, voice deadly quiet. The man turned. "Who the hell are you?" "I'm the owner of this property, and you're trespassing." Jake positioned himself between the man and Eli. "Get out. This boy is my responsibility. He's not a boy. He's an adult. And he's made it clear he doesn't want your guidance." Jake's hands clenched into fists. "Leave now." The man's face reddened. "You're the one filling his head with this gay agenda nonsense, aren't you? Corrupting him. I'm not corrupting anyone." Jake stepped closer, using his height advantage. "I'm giving him a safe place to live and work. Something you failed to do? Now get out before I call the sheriff." "Sheriff is a friend of mine," the man sneered. "And when he hears about what you're really doing with this boy..." "Doing what?" Jake's voice was ice. "Employing him? Teaching him skilled labor? What exactly are you accusing me of?" The man's eyes narrowed. "I know what you are. I can see it. And I won't let you drag Eli down your perverted path." Jake moved before he could think. He grabbed the man by his collar and shoved him against the wall, forearm pressed to his throat. "Listen carefully," Jake said, voice shaking with rage. "You don't know me. You don't know what we have here. And you sure as hell don't get to decide what's best for Eli anymore. He's an adult. He's made his choice. Now you're going to leave. And if you ever come back here, if you ever threaten him again, I will make your life a living hell. Understood?" The man's eyes bulged. He nodded, released him, stepping back. The man stumbled toward the door, casting one last furious look at Eli. "You're making a mistake. Both of you." Then he was gone. The silence in his wake was deafening. Jake turned to find Eli, trembling, tears streaming down his face. Hey. Jake pulled him into his arms. "It's okay. He's gone. He'll come back." Eli's voice was muffled against Jake's chest. "He won't give up. None of them ever give up. Then we'll deal with it together." Eli pulled back, looking up at him with eyes full of fear and something else, determination. "I need to do this right," Eli said. "I need to get my records transferred. Officially establish residency here. Make sure there's no legal ambiguity. I don't want them to have any leverage." "We'll get a lawyer," Jake said firmly. "Make this airtight. You're not going back. Promise?" Jake kissed his forehead. "I promise." The next month was a whirlwind of legal, paperwork and strategic planning. They hired a lawyer in town, a woman in her 60s who'd handled her sheriff family law cases and didn't bat an eye at their situation. She helped Eli file for complete independence from his former foster placement, helped establish his employment with Jake as legitimate and documented, helped him enroll in the community college under his own name, with no ties to his past guardians. It cost money they didn't really have. But Jake sold his truck and bought an older one to cover the fees. Worth it, he told himself, every time doubt crept in. Eli is worth it. Slowly, the legal walls went up around them. Protection. Security. In October, the first frost came. They stood on the porch wrapped in blankets, watching the fields turn silver in the dawn light. "I got accepted," Eli said quietly, "to the Privet program. Classes start in January." Jake's heart swelled. "That's amazing. Scary." Eli leaned into him. "I've never done this before. Normal life. Future planning. Hope. You'll be great." Jake pressed a kiss to his temple. "You're one of the strongest people I know. I'm strong because of you. You were always strong. I just gave you space to remember it." Eli turned in his arms, looking up at him with those eyes that never failed to undo Jake completely. "I love you," Eli said. "I know we say it a lot, but I need you to really hear it. You changed my life. You gave me a home, a future, yourself." Jake's throat was tight. "You gave me those things too. I was just existing before you showed up. Now I'm living." They kissed, soft and slow, the Montana morning cold around them, but warmth blooming between their bodies. "Whatever comes," Eli murmured against his lips, "we face it together." "Together," Jake agreed. What happens when a cowboy buys an abandoned farmhouse and finds a teen gay boy hiding inside? A true gay love story? This is what happens. Feeling growth. Love that transforms to broken people into something whole. The winter came and went. Eli excelled in his classes, driving to campus 3 times a week while Jake continued working the ranch. They fell into a comfortable rhythm, mornings together over coffee, evenings reuniting after long days apart. Nights tangled together, sharing dreams and plans. In spring, they bought 4 rescue horses. Eli practiced his veterinary skills under the guidance of a local vet who'd taken an interest in his education. Jake watched him work with the traumatized animals, patient and gentle, and fell more in love with him every day. They made friends in towns, lowly, carefully. Some people judged them. Some whispered behind their backs. But others saw what they had built and respected it. The local feed store owner, a gruff woman in her 70s named Martha, became an unlikely ally. She'd seen Jake transform from a lonely cowboy into a man with light in his eyes. "That boy's good for you," she told him one afternoon, loading hay bales into his truck. "Don't let small-minded fools tell you different." Ouch. "Yes, ma'am. And you tell Eli he's welcome to volunteer at my place anytime. I've got barn cats that could use some veterinary attention." Word spread. Eli became known as the kid who could gentle any animal, who studied late into the night, who was building something real with the cowboy on the hill. Their love story became part of the town's fabric, not without resistance, but with growing acceptance. In June, 1 year after Jake first found Eli hiding in the farmhouse, they stood together surveying their land. The ranch was thriving. 8 horses now, all rescues, all healing. The garden produced more vegetables than they could eat. The farmhouse gleamed with fresh paint and care, but more than that, they had built a home. "I've been thinking," Jake said, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and gold, "about making this official." Eli glanced at him. "Official how?" Jake pulled a small box from his pocket. Eli's breath caught. "I know we're young, well, you're young." "I'm just young at heart." Jake's smile was nervous. "And I know we've only been together a year? But Eli, I've never been more sure of anything in my life." He opened the box. Inside were 2 simple silver bands. "I want to build a life with you," Jake said, voice rough with emotion. "Not just for now, forever. I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to watch you become the veterinarian I know you'll be. I want to grow old on this land with you." Tears streamed down Eli's face. "Jake, I'm not asking you to answer right now. Take your time. Think about it. But I needed you to know," Jake's voice broke. "I'm all in, completely. You're it for me." Eli launched himself into Jake's arms, nearly knocking them both over. "Yes," he said, laughing through tears. "Yes, yes. 1,000 times yes." Jake caught him, spinning them both around, laughter mixing with tears. "You're sure?" Jake asked. "You don't want to think about it?" "I've been thinking about it since the day you didn't throw me out." Eli cupped Jake's face in his hands. "Since the day you merely saw me and chose me anyway. I've been yours since the beginning." They kissed, deep and passionate, as the sun set over their ranch, their home, their future. Jake slipped the ring onto Eli's finger. Eli did the same for him. The silver caught the last rays of sunlight, glinting like promises made solid. That night, they celebrated with dinner on the porch, steaks from the local butcher, vegetables from their garden, wine they'd been saving for a special occasion. "Tell me again," Eli said, leaning back in his chair, admiring the ring on his finger, "about your dreams, now that we're doing this together." Jake smiled. "I want to expand the rescue operation. Maybe a dozen horses eventually. Offer rehabilitation services. Partner with you once you're a licensed vet." "I love that." Eli's eyes shone. "What else?" "I want to fix up the barn into a proper stable. Build a covered arena. so we can work year-round. Maybe offer riding lessons to local kids, especially kids who need somewhere safe. LGBTQ plus kids, foster kids, anyone who needs a refuge. Eli's expression went soft. Jake Mercer, you're going to make me cry again. Good tears, I hope. The best tears. Eli reached across the table, lacing their fingers together. What about us? Where do you see us in 10 years? Jake considered. Here, still working this land. You'll have your DVM degree. I'll have gray in my beard. We'll have a dozen horses, maybe some dogs, definitely too many barn cats that you refuse to turn away. Accurate. Eli grinned. We'll have built something that matters, Jake continued. Not just for us. For other people who need what we need at acceptance, safety, love. This ranch will be a place where people can heal. I love that vision. Eli's voice was soft. I love you. I love you too, kid. Still not a kid. But Eli was smiling. No, Jake agreed, looking at the man across from him, strong, capable, beautiful, his. No, you're definitely not. The summer passed in a golden haze of contentment. Eli finished his first year of college with honors. Jake officially registered the ranch as a horse rescue nonprofit. They worked side by side every day, building their dream brick by brick. Some nights, lying in bed with Eli's head on his chest, Jake would think back to that first day. The abandoned farmhouse. The scared kid with a crowbar. The impossible decision to let him stay. It had seemed so risky then. So complicated now. It was simply his life. The best decision he'd ever made. What are you thinking about? Eli murmured sleepily. Just how far we've come. Jake ran his fingers through Eli's hair. How different everything is. Better, different. So much better. Jake pressed a kiss to the top of his head. I never thought I could have this. A partner, a home, a future I actually wanted. Eli propped himself up, looking down at Jake with those eyes that still made his heart race. You know what the crazy thing is? I never thought I deserved to be happy. I spent so many years just trying to survive. Happiness seemed like something for other people. And now I wake up every morning next to you and think, this is mine. I get to keep this. Eli's smile was radiant. You taught me that I deserve good things. That being gay isn't something to be fixed or hidden. That love can be safe and real and permanent. Jake's throat tightened. You taught me those things too. They kissed, slow and sweet. Two souls finding home in each other in August. Margaret Chen made one final visit, but this time was different. She stepped out of her car to find a transformed property. The ranch was clearly thriving. Horses grazed in the pasture. The house looked like something from a magazine spread. Jake and Eli met her on the porch, standing together, confident, united. It's Chen, Jake said evenly. What can we do for you? She looked between them, taking in the matching rings, the easy intimacy of their body language, the way they stood shoulder to shoulder. I'm officially closing your case, she said. Eli is clearly thriving. You've built something impressive here. Eli blinked. That's it? That's it. Margaret's expression softened slightly. Mr. Thompson, I'll admit I had concerns when we first spoke. But you've proven yourself capable of making your own decisions. You're enrolled in college, you're employed, you're living independently. There's nothing more for CPS to do here. Thank you, Eli said quietly. Margaret nodded. For what it's worth, I've seen a lot of situations in my career. A lot of outcomes. This is one of the good ones. She glanced at Jake. You took a chance on him. And he took a chance on you. It paid off. Jake felt Eli's hand slip into his. He squeezed it gently. Yes, ma'am, Jake said. It did. After Margaret left, they stood on the porch in silence for a long moment. Then Eli let out a breath he'd been holding for months. It's really over, he whispered. They can't touch me anymore. Jake pulled him close. You're free, Eli laughed, the sound bright with relief. I'm free. And I'm home. And I'm yours. Forever, Jake promised. Forever. Eli echoed. Autumn arrived with cool winds and golden leaves. Jake and Eli hosted their first open house at the ranch hand event for local families to meet the rescue horses, learn about animal rehabilitation, and see what they'd built. 30 people showed up. Some were curious. Some were supportive. A few brought their kids, who squealed with delight at the gentle horses. Eli gave tours, explaining each horse's story, the neglect they'd survived, the healing process. The hope for their futures. One woman approached Jake as he manned the refreshment table. "My son," she said quietly. "He's 16. He came out last year. It's been hard for him. Kids at school, some family members who don't understand." Jake nodded, listening. "Seeing you two," she continued, eyes bright with unshed tears. "Seeing what you've built here, it gives me hope. Hope that he can have this someday. Love and acceptance and a real life." Jake's chest tightened. "Tell your son he's going to be okay. It might take time. It might be hard. But there are people like us out here. Communities that will embrace him. Love that will find him." "Can I?" The woman hesitated. "Can I bring him by sometime? Just to talk? To see that there's a future?" "Anytime," Jake said firmly. "Our door is always open." The woman squeezed his hand, tears falling now. "Thank you." After she left, Eli appeared at Jake's side. "What was that about?" he asked softly. Jake told him. Eli's expression went tender. "We're going to do this, aren't we? Make this place a refuge. Like we talked about, yeah." Jake wrapped an arm around his waist. "We are good." Eli leaned into him, watching the families explore their ranch. "Because this what we have, it's too good not to share." Winter came again. On Christmas morning, they woke to snow, covering the ranch in pristine white. Eli made coffee, while Jake started a fire in the wood stove. They exchanged simple gifts: a new pair of work gloves for Jake, a stack of veterinary textbooks for Eli. But the real gift was this: peace, safety, home. "I was thinking," Eli said, curled against Jake on the couch, "about what to call this place. The ranch needs a name." "Yeah." Jake ran his fingers through Eli's hair absently. "What did you have in mind?" "Hope Ridge Ranch." Eli looked up at him. "Because that's what you gave me. Hope and a place to stand." Jake's eyes stung. "Hope Ridge Ranch. I love it." Yeah. Jake kissed him softly. "It's perfect." They sat there as the fire crackled, snow falling outside. The future, stretching before them like an open road. 2 years after Jake first found Eli hiding in the abandoned farmhouse, they stood together at Eli's college graduation. Eli walked across the stage in cap and gown, accepting his associate's degree in pre-veterinary studies with honors. The crowd applauded, but no one cheered louder than Jake. Afterward, surrounded by classmates and their families, Eli found Jake in the crowd and ran to him. Jake caught him, spinning them both around. Laughing, "I'm so proud of you," Jake said against his ear. "So damn proud? I couldn't have done it without you." Eli pulled back, eyes shining. "Literally. You made this possible. You did the work. We did the work." Eli corrected. Together, they kissed, right there in the crowd, not caring who saw. Some people smiled. Some looked away. But most just saw what they were: two men in love, celebrating a milestone, building a life. That night, back at Hope Ridge Ranch, they sat on the porch under the stars. "What happens next?" Eli asked, head resting on Jake's shoulder. "You transfer to the 4-year program? Get your bachelor's, then vet school." Jake traced patterns on Eli's arm. "We keep growing the rescue. Maybe add some cattle. Make this a real working ranch. Marriage." Eli's voice was quiet. "Real marriage, now that it's legal everywhere?" Jake smiled. "Whenever you're ready, I'm ready now." Eli sat up, looking at him seriously. "I want to marry you, Jake Mercer, officially, in front of everyone. I want the whole world to know you're mine." Jake's heart swelled. "Then let's do it. This summer, small ceremony, Just us and the people who matter. Where else? Jake cupped his face gently. This is where our story started. Where it should be made official. Eli's smile was radiant. I love you so much. I love you too. Jake kissed him, sweet and slow. More than I knew it was possible to love anyone. They were married on a perfect June day. In the field where Jake had first taught Eli to ride, 20 guests Martha from the feed store. Their lawyer, a handful of friends from town, the woman whose son they'd mentored, and Eli's favorite college professor. No family. They'd built their own. Eli wore a simple white shirt and jeans. Wildflowers woven into a crown by one of the neighbor kids. Jake wore his best boots and the bolo tie he'd inherited from his grandfather. They spoke their vows under the Montana sky. Horses grazing peacefully in the background. I promise to be your home, Jake said, voice thick with emotion. Your safe harbor. Your partner in everything. I promise to love you through every storm and every season. I promise to believe in your dreams and help you build them. I promise to see you always for exactly who you are. Eli's tears fell freely. I promise to be your strength when you need it. Your comfort when you hurt. Your joy when you forget how to find it. I promise to build this life with you, brick by brick, dream by dream. I promise to love the man you are and the man you're becoming. I promise to choose you every single day for the rest of my life. They exchanged rings, different ones now. Gold instead of silver, engraved with their wedding date. By the power vested in me, their officiant said, smiling, I now pronounce you married. You may kiss. They did, and the small crowd erupted in cheers. What happens when a cowboy buys an abandoned farmhouse and finds a teen gay boy hiding inside? A true gay love story. This is what happens. Magic, transformation. Two broken people healing each other. A love story that defies odds and expectations. A home built not just from wood and nails, but from trust and tenderness and unwavering commitment. 5 years after their wedding, Hope Ridge Ranch had become exactly what they dreamed. A sanctuary for rescued animals and lost souls alike. Eli had completed vet school and opened. Practice focused on large animals and rescued rehabilitation. He worked from the ranch 3 days a week, making house calls the other 2. Jake had expanded their operation to 15 horses, a small herd of cattle, and an ever-growing collection of barn cats that Eli refused to turn away. They'd started a mentorship program for LGBTQ+ youth in rural Montana, offering paid internships, safe housing when needed, and proof that happy endings existed. The kid they'd first mentored, the woman's son, was now 21, studying to be a large animal vet himself. Inspired by Eli's journey, on a quiet evening in late summer, Jake found Eli in the barn, checking on a newly rescued mare. How's she doing? Jake asked, leaning against the stall door. Better. Still skittish, but she's eating. Lee ran a gentle hand down the horse's neck. She'll be okay. Just needs time and patience. Like someone else I know. Jake smiled. Eli turned to him, that familiar warmth in his eyes. You'll never let me forget that, will you? Never. Jake crossed to him, pulling him close. Best day of my life? Finding you hiding in my farmhouse? Best day of mine? You letting me stay? They stood there in the golden evening light, surrounded by the life they'd built together, the rescued animals, the land they loved. The home that had saved them both. Thank you, Eli said quietly. For what? For seeing me when I was invisible, for loving me when I thought I was unlovable, for building this with me. Eli gestured to everything around them. For giving me a reason to hope. Jake's throat tightened. You gave me all those things too. I was just surviving before you. Now I'm living. Really living. We're living, Eli corrected. Together, Jake agreed. They kissed as the sun set over Hope Ridge Ranch. 2 men who'd found each other in the most unlikely way, who'd built a love story from the ruins of their separate pasts, and somewhere in the distance, a rescued horse whinnied a sound like triumph, like healing, like home. The indie should their story continue. Comment part 2 if you want more. Like if this made your heart race, subscribe for weekly gay romance stories.